Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to really understanding the forces shaping our world. Today, we're plunging into something, well, really transformative: Muslim collective security. We'll dig into why just counting heads often misses the real picture of power, and how history and, modern smarts are showing that quality, it nearly always beats quantity. Plus, why 2025 is looking like such a key year, a pivotal moment for a bold new vision of strategic unity. We've got a fascinating stack of sources here: geopolitical analysis, historical deep dives, all pointing towards a pretty profound shift in global dynamics. So let's kick things off with a statement you sometimes hear, attributed to Donald Tusk. He laid out these populations: 500 million Europeans, 300 million Americans, 140 million Russians, 2 billion Muslims, 7 million Jews. Now, you hear those numbers, right? And your first thought might be, okay, bigger number, more power, simple. But here's the real question, the fascinating twist. What do these numbers actually tell us about real-world power and influence? And maybe even more crucial, what do they hide? Why doesn't that huge number, 2 billion Muslims, automatically translate into, a proportionally stronger, more unified global force?
That's a perfect place to start, really, because Tusk's observation, while demographically accurate, kind of sets up this common misunderstanding of what we might call numerical determinism. Barbara. It's this idea that sheer population size, or even just the number of soldiers, should directly equal geopolitical power. But, history, strategic analysis, they consistently show us that raw numbers. They rarely paint the full picture. There's this ancient wisdom, actually, a Quranic verse that offers a powerful counterpoint. How many a small company has overcome a large company by permission of Allah? And look, that's not just a spiritual point. It's a deep strategic principle about things like conviction, unity, and, crucially, qualitative advantage.
And what's truly striking is seeing that ancient idea move from, let's say, wisdom to actual reality, like right now. Just yesterday, September 17th, 2025, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a strategic mutual defense agreement. Now, this isn't just some diplomatic handshake, is it? It feels like the very first real institutional brick in a potentially massive restructuring of Muslim collective security. It signals a fundamental shift, doesn't it? Moving away from just counting heads towards actively building solid institutional defenses.
Exactly, that agreement. It's a clear, living sign that the whole concept of Muslim collective security is undergoing a dramatic transformation. It points towards creating concrete institutional frameworks, not just talk. So our mission in this deep dive today is to unpack this whole transformation. We need to explore those historical roots of qualitative strength. We'll look closely at Pakistan as a key example of that very strength and understand why 2025 is being called out as this critical hinge year for this new vision of Muslim strategic unity. We'll delve into the actual blueprints for this ambitious new alliance and what it really means for global power dynamics, moving from the why to the how.
That sounds like a great roadmap. So let's start by really taking apart that numbers paradox. Okay, let's circle back to Donald Tusk's statement. Those numbers again: 500 million Europeans, 300 million Americans, 140 million Russians, 2 billion Muslims, 7 million Jews. On the surface, yeah, it paints a picture of stark demographic differences. But what's the hidden assumption baked into statements like that? And why does it often lead us down the wrong path when we talk about actual power?
Well, the implicit assumption, like we touched on, is that population size or military size is the main driver, maybe even the only driver, of a group's influence. This numerical determinism, it suggests more people, more soldiers, automatically means more economic clout, more military muscle, more political sway. But think about it. A huge population can actually be a massive liability, can't it? If it's, say, deeply divided internally, or lacks a unified political will, or if it's suffering from underdevelopment, or maybe disconnected from a strong industrial and tech base. Numbers alone, they tell us absolutely nothing about the quality of governance, or the effectiveness of military strategy, or the strength of the economy.
That's a really critical distinction. So power isn't just about how many people you have lined up.
Not at all.
It's about what those people can actually do and how well they're organized, how effectively they work together. And history seems full of examples where nations or analysts totally misread the situation by focusing only on population figures, right? Can you give us some examples of those misreadings?
Well, absolutely. Think about Imperial China back in the 19th century.
Yeah.
Colossal population, historically immense wealth, yet it was repeatedly outmaneuvered, even carved up, by much smaller European powers. Now, these European nations, tiny populations in comparison, had superior technology, highly organized militaries, unified command structures. The sheer number of Chinese citizens didn't automatically equal global power or
Sure.
flip it around. Look at the British Empire,
Yeah.
a relatively small island nation.
Right.
Yet it controlled vast swaths of the globe. That dominance wasn't about overwhelming British numbers. It was built on things like naval supremacy, sophisticated administration, clever strategic alliances. These examples, they force you to ask, what other factors are really driving power? Is it economic output, technological edge, diplomatic skill, military quality,
Right.
or maybe something less tangible like national will, unity of purpose? You might even think about a modern giant like India, huge population, but still grappling with significant development challenges that affect its power projection.
Those examples really drive it home. A simple headcount can be incredibly deceptive. It really makes you question. Okay, if it's not just about numbers, what is the secret sauce? What makes a nation or a bloc truly strong? And this consistent failure of just counting heads, it sets the perfect stage for understanding Pakistan's unique story. It really serves as a compelling case study, doesn't it? How a nation can achieve maybe disproportionate influence and strategic balance precisely by focusing on those qualitative edges, often under incredible pressure.
Precisely. Pakistan's journey, especially in developing its strategic capabilities, offers a powerful real-world counter-narrative to that simplistic idea that size dictates destiny. It underlines that qualitative advantages, whether that's in military skill, strategic thinking, or scientific achievement, can effectively level the playing field or even overcome big numerical gaps. And this principle is going to be central as we unpack the blueprints for this potential future of Muslim collective security.
That lays a really solid foundation. Okay, now let's rewind a bit. Let's see how this idea, quality over quantity, isn't just some modern strategic theory. It's an enduring lesson, really etched into history, particularly within the Islamic tradition. Let's explore these echoes of history, the enduring power of quality and conviction. So, we've established that raw numbers can be misleading. Now, let's dive into the deep historical roots of this concept, especially within Islamic history. How do these ancient examples resonate with the strategic shifts we're seeing today? What are some of those key prophetic precedents that really hammer home this enduring power of quality and conviction over just sheer size?
Yeah, when you look at Islamic history, the Battle of Badr, it just stands out immediately. It's a foundational example of this principle in action. The early Muslim forces, numbering only around, 313, they were facing a Quraysh army estimated at roughly 1,000. And the Quraysh were better equipped, too. So on paper, it looked like an impossible fight, a huge numerical disadvantage. Yet the Muslims achieved a decisive victory. So what made the difference? Well, it was a combination of things. Strong, unified leadership under the Prophet Muhammad himself, extraordinarily high morale, fueled by absolute faith and conviction, and crucially, smart strategic positioning. They used the terrain cleverly. All of this underpinned by a deep belief in divine help. It's just a vivid textbook illustration of a small company overcoming a large company.
A truly powerful story. And Badr wasn't just a one-off, was it? Other early battles showed similar patterns, demonstrating resilience and strategic smarts.
Absolutely not a one-off.
Yeah.
Look at the Battle of Uhud. Now, its outcome was more complex, definitely. But even there, you saw immense resilience, unwavering commitment against a much larger enemy force. And then there's the Battle of Battle of the Trench. Now, that was a masterclass in strategic thinking and innovative defense. They were facing this huge confederacy, maybe 10,000 enemy troops. The early Muslims knew they couldn't win a straight fight in the open field. They'd be overwhelmed. So what did they do? They adopted this unique defensive strategy, digging a massive trench around Medina. This ingenious tactic basically neutralized the enemy's biggest advantage, their numbers. It turned a potential direct assault into a frustrating siege, a war of attrition where the larger force just couldn't deploy its strength effectively. It powerfully shows how clever strategy can completely outfox brute force.
So it really emphasizes fighting smarter, not just harder or with more bodies. How did these early lessons then play out in the strategies of the great commanders during the Islamic Golden Age?
Oh, they absolutely built on these foundations. Think about Khalid ibn al-Walid, often called the Sword of Allah. His military genius is, legendary. In battles like Qadisiyah, facing the massive Sasanian Persian Empire, and Yarmouk, against the mighty Byzantine Empire in both cases, Khalid led smaller Muslim forces. But these forces were incredibly disciplined, highly motivated, and tactically brilliant. They won stunning victories. And these weren't just wins, they were game changers. They proved that superior command, high morale, and tactical innovation could decisively beat vast imperial armies that were used to relying on numbers. Khalid's emphasis on things like maneuver, speed, understanding battlefield psychology, that was key. Then you fast forward a bit, you have Saladin. He masterfully united these disparate Muslim forces to win decisive victories against the Crusader states. His armies weren't always bigger, but they were unified by a powerful cause, exceptional leadership, a clear strategic goal. He understood the power of cohesion, of conviction. Then, maybe a century later, you have the Mamluks, a relatively smaller but incredibly well-trained and formidable military group. They achieved something truly astonishing at Ain Jalut in 1260. They actually stopped the Mongol advance into the Levant, an advance that seemed unstoppable.
Right, that was huge.
It was a critical moment. It saves much of the Muslim world from further devastation, and again it showed strategic courage and a qualitative military edge against what seemed like an overwhelming tide. And later on, empires like the Ottomans and the Mughals, while vast, maintained and grew their power not just through population, but through highly advanced military organization, discipline, and strategic innovation, particularly in areas like artillery and administration.
These are incredibly compelling examples. They really illustrate this recurring theme throughout history. And crucially, it's not just confined to Islamic history, is it? We see these universal lessons, asymmetric warfare, quality over quantity, playing out across different civilizations.
That's a vital point. These lessons are absolutely universal. Think way back to ancient Greece resisting the colossal Persian Empire. Iconic battles, right? Marathon, Thermopylae, Salamis. Smaller, often ideologically driven Greek city-states used superior tactics, knowledge of their terrain, and sheer determination to fend off a numerically vast enemy. Or Alexander the Great. He carved out this huge empire with relatively small but meticulously trained, highly disciplined Macedonian army. It just showcased the massive impact of superior tactics and unified command. The Roman legions, too, their long-term dominance, built on unparalleled discipline, organization, engineering skill. They consistently overcame numerically superior barbarian forces through sheer qualitative advantage.
And even in more recent history, we've seen similar dynamics play out, haven't we? The Winter War, Finland versus the Soviet Union springs to mind.
A perfect modern example. During the Winter War, the small Finnish army bravely fought off a massive Soviet invasion. They ingeniously used their harsh terrain, their local knowledge, and really effective guerrilla tactics to inflict disproportionate losses. They held their ground against unbelievable odds for a long time. And even more recently, look at the Vietnam War or the Cuban Revolution. Classic examples where insurgent forces or smaller national armies successfully resisted technologically superior superpowers. How? Through asymmetric warfare, leveraging strong popular support, deep conviction, intimate understanding of their environment, proving that will, intelligence, clever tactics, they can outweigh massive material advantages.
Wow. So whether it's ancient battlefields or modern conflicts, the main theme is just undeniable, isn't it? History consistently shows that quality, things like unity, conviction, strategic excellence, they are far more significant drivers of strength than just size or numbers. This isn't just theory, it's a deeply proven historical principle.
And this consistent historical pattern, it becomes even more relevant in our complex, multipolar world today, wouldn't you say? Conventional numerical advantages can be quickly neutralized by things like technological breakthroughs or asymmetric tactics. Which brings us squarely to Pakistan's modern story. It offers such a powerful contemporary case study for this very principle.
And that leads us perfectly into our next segment. Pakistan, a modern testament to asymmetric equalization. Because if history proves quality triumphs, Pakistan really stands as a compelling living example of that in our time.
All right, so we've really established that historical pattern, quality beating quantity. Now let's zoom in on Pakistan, a nation that arguably embodies this principle today, showing how strategic depth and qualitative advantages can really level the playing field. How has Pakistan consistently shown this qualitative edge in its military history? Well, Pakistan's military history definitely offers some compelling, very concrete examples. Take the 1965 war with India. Despite facing a numerically superior opponent, the Pakistan Air Force, the PAF, showed remarkable qualitative superiority. They racked up significant air-to-air victories, provided crucial ground support. It really proved that superior skill, intense training, smart deployment could overcome numerical odds. And on the ground, in battles like Chowenda, Pakistani forces showed incredible resistance. They held their ground against a much larger Indian offensive, demonstrating exceptional resolve and tactical skill. Even later, under the incredibly tough circumstances of the 1971 war, while facing immense pressure on the Eastern Front.
Which ultimately led to the creation of Bangladesh.
Exactly. But the resilience and strategic depth shown by Pakistani forces on the Western Front were still noteworthy. They managed to hold key areas, prevent further major incursions, again against a numerically larger opponent focused there. These instances, they highlight a consistent theme. a deep commitment to qualitative excellence in training, in equipment, in military doctrine.
And this is where it gets particularly fascinating, because beyond conventional fighting, Pakistan achieved one of the most remarkable strategic feats of the late 20th century, developing nuclear weapons. And they did this under unprecedented international pressure, sanctions.
That's an absolutely crucial point. Pakistan's journey to becoming a nuclear power is perhaps the prime example of achieving strategic parity, achieving deterrence through purely indigenous scientific and military excellence. And yes, under severe international sanctions, immense geopolitical pressure. This wasn't about building a bigger army or matching tank for tank. It was about investing decisively in high-end asymmetric capabilities that fundamentally changed the regional power balance. It acted as an asymmetric equalizer, effectively guaranteeing its security against much larger conventional threats. This strategic achievement really cemented its qualitative edge globally and showed incredible national resolve.
And it's not just about the big headline-grabbing stuff like nukes or fighter jets, is it? Intelligence capabilities play a huge role in asymmetric situations.
Absolutely huge. The Inter-Services Intelligence, the ISI, has long been recognized for its intelligence prowess and operational effectiveness. Its capabilities in regional conflicts and counterterrorism efforts, they're significant. Often operating, frankly, with limited resources compared to larger agencies, but demonstrating high effectiveness and strategic impact. This again points to the quality of their people, specialized training, sophisticated operational methods. It contributes disproportionately to Pakistan's overall strategic weight. It's a clear example of how targeted, high-quality intelligence can provide a vital strategic edge.
Okay, let's look at a recent fictional event described in the source material that powerfully illustrates these capabilities in today's context. The May 2025 crisis. It involves something called Operation Sindoor and Pakistan's strategic response, codenamed Bunyan and Marsuz. Can you walk us through what this scenario demonstrates?
Certainly. This fictional crisis, Operation Sindoor, it presents a hypothetical scenario deliberately designed to test strategic resilience. Pakistan's conceptual response, Bunyan and Marsuz, which means a firm structure, is meant to illustrate its sophisticated capacity for strategic deterrence and effective asymmetric response. The scenario suggests that even in a highly volatile situation, Pakistan could leverage its qualitative advantages, including its nuclear deterrent, its intelligence networks, its highly trained conventional forces to maintain stability and protect its core interests. So this crisis, in this context, serves to reaffirm Pakistan's role as an equalizer. It demonstrates that a nation focused on qualitative excellence can navigate and assert itself even against seemingly overwhelming odds, not through brute force, but through strategic depth, clever planning, and resolve.
So the core lesson here, if we look at Pakistan's whole story, is that it provides living proof. Maybe?
I think that's fair, yeah.
Proof that a nation can effectively navigate this incredibly complex geopolitical world, assert itself by cultivating these qualitative advantages. Not just relying on population size, it's a testament to strategic depth, tech prowess, and sheer national will.
Exactly. And this experience, this demonstrated capability, makes Pakistan such a crucial foundational piece in the puzzle of building any new Muslim collective security architecture. It shows, concretely, what's possible when quality, strategic thinking, and resolve are prioritized. Which brings us right to a critical juncture in our conversation. 2025. The critical hinge year for Muslim self-reliance.
Okay, we've looked at the history, Pakistan's powerful modern example. Now let's really focus on this moment. Why is 2025 being singled out as such a critical hinge year for Muslim self-reliance? What's happening globally that makes this timing so, well, significant?
Well, what's really striking right now is you can see the perceived unraveling of many of the old paradigms in international relations, especially in security alliances. The post-World War II order, largely dominated by Western powers and alliances like NATO, it's definitely showing significant cracks. It's under strain. There's this growing feeling among many nations, especially those outside the immediate Western strategic umbrella, that traditional external guarantors are either, increasingly unwilling or maybe demonstrably unable to consistently protect their varied interests. And this shifting geopolitical landscape, it's creating unprecedented opportunities for new alignments, particularly among nations looking to assert greater autonomy and build strengths from within.
So it's like a moment of global recalculation, creating a kind of vacuum, or maybe more positively, an opportunity for new structures, new alliances to emerge.
Precisely.
and opportunity.
Yeah.
And this specific year, 2025, is being identified as this crucial juncture because these powerful global trends seem to be converging rapidly. We're seeing increased geopolitical instability,
Right.
a clear rise in multipolarity. It's not a unipolar world anymore, and a very determined move by several nations to assert their independence, to redefine their security doctrines on the world stage. For the Muslim world, this convergence represents a pivotal moment, a hinge year, to act decisively and shape its own security future. It's really a window of opportunity to shift from dependence to genuine self-reliance.
And what makes this year even more significant, something we mentioned right at the start, is that recent Pakistan-Saudi Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. This isn't just another run-of-the-mill defense deal, is it?
No, far from it. This pact, signed just yesterday, September 17, 2025, is being described quite significantly as the first institutional brick in a much larger vision, a comprehensive Muslim collective security architecture. Its real significance lies in its core principle. An attack on one is an attack on both.
Ah, the Article 5 parallel.
Exactly. It directly mirrors NATO's famous Article 5. It provides a clear, legally binding bilateral commitment to mutual defense. It's not just a friendly declaration or a promise to consult. It's a firm, binding security guarantee. That carries real weight.
So it's a tangible legal framework, an enforceable commitment, moving beyond just words to concrete action.
Exactly right. This bilateral agreement, it serves as a fundamental stepping stone towards that much larger, more ambitious vision of a comprehensive Muslim NATO. It demonstrates the political will is there, that it's feasible for such an arrangement to form, starting with two key players. And crucially, it provides a concrete, operational model that other nations can now look at, examine, and potentially join or replicate. It's about building momentum through real commitment.
And what's the underlying drive here, the core message behind this strategic push for Muslim nations looking ahead?
Well, this really forces us to consider a fundamental shift in strategic thinking, doesn't it? The core message is a pretty clear call for Muslim nations to fundamentally change where they place their reliance, shifting it away from external guarantors, whether that's Western powers or any other non-Muslim alliances, towards robustly relying on themselves. It's all about fostering deep internal unity and building collective strength from within the Muslim world. The strategic implications of that kind of self-reliance, especially in today's increasingly multipolar, unpredictable world, are just immense. It means greater agency, stronger deterrence, the collective power to protect shared interests without outside interference or dependence. It signals a powerful move towards real sovereignty and collective self-determination.
That's a huge shift in mindset, isn't it? Truly about taking control of their own destiny. Which leads us perfectly into our next discussion. The actual blueprint for a Muslim NATO, an architectural roadmap. What does this ambitious vision actually look like on paper? Okay, we've traced the historical drive, the current geopolitical window. Now let's get down to brass tacks. What's the actual blueprint for this proposed Muslim NATO? How is this grand vision being laid out to move from an idea to something concrete?
Right, the proposed concept of a Muslim NATO, it's certainly ambitious, exceptionally so, and it's clearly defined as a collective defense alliance among Muslim states. That's a crucial distinction. It's designed with a very specific strategic focus, mutual defense and security exclusively among Muslim nations. Now, this makes it different from other regional initiatives like, say, the Abraham Accords, which have different goals and involve a wider range of countries. The Muslim NATO idea is solely focused on building intra-Muslim security.
Okay, so fundamentally about securing the Muslim world from within, by Muslim nations, for Muslim nations, makes sense. What are the foundational pieces, the bedrock elements of this proposed alliance? How would it actually be structured legally and organizationally to make it work?
Well, the absolute bedrock has to be robust treaty foundations. This means a formal, legally binding treaty that spells everything out. The alliance's purpose, its structure, the commitments involved. And the absolute centerpiece of this treaty would be a strong collective defense clause, directly mirroring NATO's Article 5, as we discussed. This means, unequivocally, an attack on any member state is considered an attack on all members, triggering a unified military, economic, and political response from the entire alliance. This isn't optional. It's a core principle for credibility and mutual protection. Then, alongside the treaty, a critical element is the headquarters and command system. The vision suggests a supreme command located in Pakistan. Now, that choice is highly symbolic, yes, but also practical. It acknowledges Pakistan's central role, its proven military experience, its strategic depth, and its unique nuclear status, making it a sort of natural experience hub for such a command. But to manage such a vast area effectively, the blueprint also includes establishing regional HQs. These would be strategically placed across the Muslim world, maybe North Africa, the Gulf, Southeast Asia to manage local threats, coordinate forces regionally, and ensure rapid, tailored responses. And the overarching goal here is deep force integration. That means things like standardized procedures, joint training exercises, shared doctrines, and complete interoperability between member militaries so they can function as one cohesive unit when needed.
Right, a hub-and-spoke model. Central Strategic Command, regional operational centers, makes sense. What about the actual military commands themselves developing capabilities and how these forces would actually operate together?
That's where the plan gets into the specifics of strategic commands, capability development, and operational concepts. It includes establishing various specialized regional and functional commands. These would be tailored to specific threats or geographic zones. You might imagine, say, a dedicated Gulf command focused on energy security, or a Levant command for regional stability, maybe even a counterterrorism command. A major focus would be aggressive capability development. This means pooling resources for advanced military tech, joint research and development, perhaps shared procurement to get better deals, enhanced training facilities, critical infrastructure development. The alliance would need to conduct regular comprehensive joint exercises to ensure everyone's ready, to refine operational plans, and test how well they work together in realistic situations. And importantly, the blueprint explicitly includes specific operational concepts designed for key flashpoints and long-running issues. So not just generic defense plans, but detailed strategies for, say, the defense of Palestine, or a framework for resolving Kashmir peacefully, or comprehensive plans to protect sacred sites across the Muslim world like Jerusalem. These are focused initiatives targeting persistent challenges.
That sounds incredibly detailed, very comprehensive. And it seems to go beyond just military defense, based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
What's the broader vision here, beyond just security, as laid out in the source material?
Yes, while security is definitely the foundation, the immediate priority, the blueprint envisions a much broader scope. The full vision, besides detailing the history, Pakistan's role, the challenges, it delves deep into the military structure, of course. But crucially, the roadmap also tackles opposition management, basically, anticipating and planning for resistance, both external and maybe even internal, to such an ambitious project. And most importantly, it envisions a holistic transformation leading to a Muslim world transformation, not just militarily strong, but sparking an economic, cultural, and scientific renaissance. The security umbrella is seen as the essential foundation upon which this wider civilizational renewal can be built, fostering innovation, prosperity, and renewed global influence.
So it's not just about protecting borders, but potentially igniting a renaissance for the entire Muslim world. That's a truly grand vision. And it naturally brings us to the next critical point. Critical challenges demanding collective solutions. Because any alliance like this would immediately have to confront some of the most complex and deeply entrenched issues facing the Muslim world today. So this Muslim NATO vision aims high for a full civilizational renewal. But before any renaissance can truly bloom, it has to grapple with the very real, often heartbreaking challenges the Muslim world faces right now. Let's explore these critical hotspots and modern threats that seem to demand immediate, unified action.
Yes, this really brings the necessity of such an alliance into sharp focus. The existing geopolitical hotspots. They aren't abstract issues. They impact millions of lives daily and destabilize whole regions. Take Palestine and Jerusalem's sacred sites. The ongoing humanitarian crisis there, the incredible political complexity, the constant threats to the sanctity of Jerusalem's holy places. These are issues that resonate deeply, emotionally, across the entire Muslim world. A unified Muslim stance, backed by coordinated, robust effort, isn't just desirable. It feels essential for protecting those sites and advocating for a just, lasting peace. Individual nations acting alone have often found their diplomatic or economic leverage just isn't enough.
Absolutely. The fragmented responses we've often seen have led to limited results, a diluted voice internationally. What about other long-standing territorial issues?
Another massive challenge is Kashmir and other unresolved territorial disputes. The conflict in Kashmir, for instance, is not only a profound human tragedy, but also a major flashpoint constantly destabilizing South Asia. A collective approach from Muslim nations seems imperative to push for resolution, not just in Kashmir, but in similar disputes maybe in the Levant, parts of Africa that continue to fuel instability, block development, and prevent regional cooperation and prosperity. A united front could potentially apply more effective diplomatic pressure or offer more credible mediation or peacekeeping options. And beyond these traditional conflicts, we're seeing the rise of modern threats to sovereignty that go far beyond conventional military attacks. Things like hybrid warfare and economic warfare are getting incredibly sophisticated. We're talking about non-military tactics, targeted cyber attacks on power grids or financial systems, widespread disinformation campaigns, crippling financial sanctions, manipulating global trade, all designed to weaken nations from within, often without firing a shot. Individual nations often struggle to counter these complex, multi-pronged attacks alone. This really highlights the need for something like a collective economic resilience board, maybe, to foster mutual support, coordinate trade, build resilient supply chains, pool financial resources, making the bloc less vulnerable to outside pressure and coercion.
That's a crucial point. The battlefield has clearly expanded way beyond just tanks and planes.
Yeah.
And digital sovereignty, that must be a huge concern now.
Huge. Cyber and digital sovereignty are absolutely critical in the 21st century. Protecting national digital infrastructure, fighting off increasingly sophisticated cyber threats from state actors, non-state actors ensuring digital independence. These are top national security priorities now. An alliance like the proposed Muslim NATO could pool resources, intelligence, talent to build really strong collective cyber defenses. Imagine shared threat intelligence, joint cyber response teams. This could prevent adversaries from exploiting digital weaknesses and safeguard sensitive data. A shared defense here would be a powerful deterrent in itself. And all these complex challenges, they really underscore one undeniable need: the critical importance of deep institutional unity. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, while it serves as an important forum for discussion, arguably needs to evolve significantly. It needs to transform from being primarily a place for deliberation where resolutions get passed but often lack teeth or follow through into a more decisive, actionable force, capable of actually implementing collective policies, executing coordinated responses, and wielding real unified influence globally. Ultimately, the foundation for tackling all these complex challenges really lies in achieving that deep institutional unity among Muslim nations, moving from just talking together to acting together decisively.
That's a powerful point. Talk is vital, but action needs strong, unified institutions. Which also brings us neatly to our next segment: architecture in action, operationalizing the vision. Because, okay, you can have a great blueprint, but making it actually work effectively on the ground, that's a whole different challenge. How does this collective defense idea actually get put into practice? We've covered the challenges, the conceptual blueprint. Now let's get practical. How does this Muslim NATO vision move from plans on paper to a real, functioning, operational reality? How will this architecture in action actually make collective security work for the Muslim world?
Well, the absolute heart of the whole thing is the treaty's core collective defense. As we mentioned, the proposed framework details a really robust collective defense clause. Now, this clause isn't just symbolic. It legally and operationally binds member states to respond together with force if any one of them is attacked. So it means an attack on, let's say, Saudi Arabia would formally be considered an attack on Pakistan, triggering a coordinated military, economic, and diplomatic reaction from all the signatories. This mechanism effectively turns individual national security into a shared, indivisible responsibility. That's what creates the real deterrent against outside aggression.
So not just a gesture of solidarity, but a hardwired commitment that triggers a mandatory unified response. That must demand an incredibly robust and well-defined command structure to manage.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which leads directly to the command and control structure. The blueprint reinforces the idea of Pakistan hosting the supreme command. Again, this choice isn't just symbolic. It reflects Pakistan's established military experience, its strategic location, its unique capabilities as a nuclear state, positioning it as the logical nerve center for strategic planning, force deployment, and overall direction. But complementing the central command, you'd have the regional HQs. These are crucial for decentralizing command and ensuring effective coordination across vast distances. These regional hubs would manage local threats, run tailored exercises, and enable rapid responses adapted to diverse geographical and operational environments. It ensures flexibility and speed.
And for any of this to work smoothly, the different militaries involved have to be able to operate like a single, seamless unit, right? That sounds like a massive undertaking in itself.
It is a huge undertaking. That's why significant operational integration and shared capabilities are key. Member states wouldn't just contribute forces and money. Crucially, they'd need to adhere to common interoperability standards. This means things like standardized equipment where possible, harmonized training doctrines, unified communication systems, streamlined logistics. The goal is to ensure that troops from different countries can truly operate as one cohesive force in joint operations, minimizing confusion and maximizing impact. A critical part of this integration would be intelligence fusion. This means setting up advanced, shared intelligence platforms. Think real-time threat assessment,
sophisticated analysis shared across the alliance, joint early warning systems. This collaborative approach would let the alliance anticipate threats better, understand the complex geopolitical environment more clearly, and make faster, more informed decisions. Imagine everyone working off the same accurate intelligence picture. That's a huge advantage. Furthermore, in this era of multi-domain warfare, cyber and space defense are absolutely vital. The alliance would need to develop strong joint capabilities here, protecting shared digital assets, national infrastructure, even space-based resources from attack. Recognizing that future conflicts will increasingly play out in these domains means collective defense here is non-negotiable.
This all sounds very heavily focused on military and defense aspects, but you also mentioned economic warfare earlier. How does that piece fit into this architecture in action?
Right. That's where the Economic Resilience Board comes in as a vital non-military component. This board would be specifically designed to counter economic warfare tactics. Its job would be to foster mutual economic support among members, coordinate trade policies to strengthen the bloc, strategically build resilient supply chains that bypass potential choke points, and pool financial resources to build collective strength. The aim is to make the entire alliance less vulnerable to external economic pressure, sanctions, or manipulation, providing a robust, united front against attempts to undermine member states financially. And finally, we can actually see how this architecture is already starting to take shape, tangibly, with the regional impact of the Pakistan-Saudi Pact. That September 2025 agreement, it directly strengthens the proposed Regional Gulf Command. It serves as a concrete, real-world model for joint deterrence, and it specifically highlights its role in protecting critical energy infrastructure in the vital Gulf region. So this bilateral pact isn't just a stepping stone in theory. It's already an active operational element, boosting regional security and acting as a prototype for wider integration. It shows the vision isn't just talk, it's starting to happen.
That's a truly detailed picture of how this alliance could actually function day to day. It's comprehensive from legal foundations to operational details, even including economic defense, which logically leads us into our next area, the implementation journey, a phased roadmap to reality. Because grand visions, no matter how compelling, need concrete steps and a clear timeline to become real. How does such an ambitious project actually get built over time? Okay, so we have the detailed blueprint, we understand the operational design, but a vision this huge, it doesn't just happen overnight. Let's use this segment to explore the implementation journey, a phased roadmap to reality. What are the concrete sequential steps and maybe some estimated timelines for bringing this Muslim NATO concept to life, moving it from an idea to a fully functioning alliance?
Right. An undertaking of this scale would absolutely need to be a meticulously planned, phased process, structured for long-term success, not rushed. Phase 1, as envisioned perhaps for 2025-2026, would focus squarely on diplomatic outreach and alignment. This is the crucial starting point. Engaging key nations, carefully building consensus, achieving that core nation alignment for the alliance. It involves intensive diplomacy, confidence-building measures, clearly showing the mutual benefits and the strategic necessity of uniting. The goal here is to get the essential players fully committed, forging a unified political will.
That sounds like an enormous amount of diplomatic heavy lifting just to get everyone pointing in the same direction initially. What happens right after that core alignment is achieved?
Well, once that political foundation is solid, Phase 2, maybe projected for 2026-2027, would be all about treaty development and legal framework. This is the painstaking work of drafting the detailed treaty text itself, along with all the necessary annexes. This phase legally formalizes everything: the alliance's exact structure, its binding commitments, that definitive collective defense clause, operational guidelines, all the intricate legal details needed for a solid international defense pact. It would require collaboration between legal experts, diplomats, military strategists to build an unbreakable legal foundation. Then, following the establishment of that strong legal framework, Phase 3, perhaps spanning 2027-2028, would be dedicated to infrastructure establishment. This is where the alliance becomes physically real. It means setting up the HQ in Pakistan for the Supreme Command, building the facilities, securing communications, putting support systems in place, and at the same time setting up the various regional HQs in strategic spots across the Muslim world. This phase involves major logistical planning, construction work, advanced tech integration to make sure these command centers are fully operational and securely linked.
And then, once all those foundational pieces, the political will, the legal treaty, the physical HQs are firmly in place, the alliance can really start to grow, strengthen, and move towards being fully operational.
Exactly. Phase 4, maybe stretching from 2028-2030, is all about expansion, consolidation, and full operational capability. This phase sees the subsequent stages of expansion, bringing more member states into the fold as they see the benefits and choose to join. It also means consolidation, strengthening the existing structures, continuously improving processes, and crucially, conducting large-scale complex exercises to rigorously test readiness, check interoperability, and validate the operational concepts in diverse, realistic scenarios. The ultimate goal of this phase is hitting full operational capability for the entire alliance, meaning it can effectively and synchronously respond to any threat anywhere within its area of responsibility.
This sounds incredibly ambitious and, frankly, incredibly expensive. How on earth would an undertaking of this magnitude, a vision on this scale, actually be financed? That's often the biggest stumbling block for any international alliance, isn't it?
That's an excellent and absolutely critical question. The proposed financial model here is designed to be quite innovative, sustainable, and also ethically grounded, drawing on principles from Islamic finance. It introduces the idea of Islamic defense, sukuk. These are essentially Sharia-compliant bonds. Unlike conventional debt bonds, sukuk are asset-backed certificates that comply with Islamic law, making them an ethical way to finance defense infrastructure and capabilities. This could tap into huge pools of capital within the Muslim world ethically. The model also suggests using waqf, which are traditional charitable endowments, and takaful, a form of Islamic insurance, to pool resources and mitigate risks, leveraging established mechanisms of collective welfare and financial solidarity already present in many Muslim societies. These innovative tools are designed to tap into the vast financial resources available within the Muslim world in a permissible, structured way. Now, alongside these innovative methods, there would likely also be a more standard approach: defense burden sharing through a GDP % contribution model. This ensures equitable participation. Member states contribute financially based on the size of their economy, fostering shared responsibility and making the alliance financially sustainable in the long run. It's envisioned as a practical mix, traditional defense funding combined with groundbreaking Islamic financial tools specifically designed to make the alliance financially strong, self-sufficient, and less dependent on outside funding sources.
That's a remarkably comprehensive and quite forward-thinking financial strategy, blending traditional methods with ethical approaches. This entire roadmap from diplomacy to full operational status, backed by robust financing, really paints a picture of deliberate, sustained effort. And it all seems to culminate in our final discussion point, the grand vision transformation and civilizational renewal. Because ultimately, this isn't just about soldiers and treaties, is it? So we've journeyed through the numbers paradox, the deep historical precedents, Pakistan's pivotal role, the significance of 2025, the detailed blueprint for an alliance, the daunting challenges, and the step-by-step implementation plan. Now in our final segment, let's talk about the ultimate goal, the big payoff, the grand vision transformation and civilizational renewal. What are the profound long-term shifts this alliance aims to spark for the Muslim world, going far beyond just improved security?
Right, this security architecture, it's really seen as a catalyst, an enabler for something much bigger, a profound, multifaceted transformation. It signals several fundamental shifts. Firstly, a monumental shift from dependence on external powers to complete self-sufficiency, not just in security, but potentially across critical domains. Think food security, energy security, technological autonomy, allowing Muslim nations to fully chart their own course without external vulnerabilities holding them back. Secondly, it aims for a powerful shift from internal division and fragmentation, which has historically plagued the Muslim world, to profound unity and cohesion among Muslim nations. The very act of building collective security inherently forces cooperation, demands shared goals, builds mutual trust. It naturally works against those historical divisions. This unity could solidify a stronger collective identity and purpose, pushing beyond narrow national interests for the greater good of the bloc.
So moving away from being reactive and fractured towards being strong, unified, proactive, shaping their own story, their own future.
Exactly. Which leads directly to another crucial shift. From perceived weakness in global affairs to demonstrable strength and real strategic influence. When united, the Muslim world, with its vast collective resources, its strategically vital geography, a unified voice would inevitably command greater respect and wield far more diplomatic and economic leverage internationally. It would transition from often being an object of global politics to being an active, powerful subject, capable of shaping global outcomes, and finally, a related shift, from merely reactive responses to crises to a proactive, forward-looking Muslim security posture. This means anticipating threats, developing preemptive strategies, actively shaping regional and global dynamics instead of just reacting to events after they happen. It's about getting ahead of the curve, defining the agenda, steering their own course with confidence.
Those are truly fundamental changes, aren't they? Not just tweaking things at the edges. It really sounds like security is just the necessary starting point, the foundation for something much, much bigger. What does this broader transformation, this holistic renaissance, actually look like in practical terms?
Well, the enhanced security is designed to act as that powerful catalyst for a broader societal and civilizational revival. First, it could ignite a significant economic renaissance, fostering robust trade between Muslim nations, encouraging massive joint investments in shared projects, developing critical infrastructure that connects the bloc, creating shared prosperity. Secure trade routes in stable regions are, after all, powerful magnets for growth and innovation. This economic strength would then naturally lead to increased diplomatic leverage on the world stage. A more unified, powerful voice on critical global issues, whether that's climate change, human rights debates, reforming international law, or global governance structures. And beyond economics and politics, this unity could spark a vibrant cultural revival, promoting shared heritage, Islamic values, the arts, encouraging vigorous intellectual exchange, strengthening the cultural ties and collective identity among diverse Muslim nations. And critically, it could accelerate scientific advancement and technological innovation across the alliance. By pooling brainpower, fostering collaborative R&D, creating interconnected centers of excellence, the Muslim world could potentially regain a leading role in global scientific and technological progress, driving innovation in key emerging fields.
What a profound and incredibly comprehensive vision. It really ties together all the threads we've been discussing. How would you distill this entire ethos, this spirit of aiming for civilizational renewal, into one core, powerful statement?
I think it brings us right back to that core principle we started with, and it offers a powerful summary. The entire vision seems driven by this deep understanding. Quality defeats quantity when guided by faith, discipline, and strategic excellence. Now, that's not just a military slogan. It's presented as a foundational philosophy for this entire civilizational renewal project. It suggests that with deep conviction, unwavering unity, disciplined execution, and sharp strategic foresight, the Muslim world can overcome any perceived numerical or material shortcomings and usher in a new era, an era of strength, prosperity, and renewed global leadership.
What a thought-provoking idea to end on. It really reframes our entire conversation, doesn't it? And that brings us full circle to our outro. So we kicked off this deep dive with Donald Tusk's intriguing numbers paradox. Those population figures meant to make us think about global power. 500 million Europeans, 2 billion Muslims, 7 million Jews. But now, after unpacking the historical lessons, looking at Pakistan's modern strategic example, and exploring the detailed blueprint for a new collective security vision, that paradox feels, well, fundamentally resolved, doesn't it? It seems clear that real power isn't just about the simple arithmetic of populations. It's more about the complex geometry of strategic alliances, shared purpose, qualitative strength, and unwavering resolve.
Indeed. And what's truly striking here, I think, is that this isn't just some abstract discussion or a far-off future hope. A tangible first institutional step has already been taken. The Pakistan-Saudi Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, signed just yesterday, September 17, 2025. It's not merely a concept anymore. It's the very first concrete, living piece of this puzzle already put in place. It signals this transformation isn't just a dream, it's a reality, potentially beginning to unfold right now.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over long after this conversation ends. In a world increasingly defined by shifting alliances, intricate national interests, and threats across multiple domains, what truly defines lasting power in the 21st century? And how might the deliberate pursuit of unity and qualitative excellence, drawing on deep historical lessons and applying them to today's geopolitical chessboard, fundamentally reshape not just one region, but potentially the entire global balance of power as we currently understand it?
And perhaps consider, too, the implications of this kind of intentional structured unity. What responsibilities might fall on individual nations within the Muslim world to contribute to this vision? And how could their own internal situations, their economic health, social cohesion, political stability, ultimately influence the success and maybe the final form of such an ambitious undertaking?
We really encourage you to keep exploring these themes, to watch how agreements like the Pakistan-Saudi Pact develop, and to critically analyze these evolving dynamics in international relations, because understanding these shifts is absolutely crucial to understanding where our world might be heading. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.